You're listening to the Hockey Podcast Network, your home for hockey talk covering every team in the NHL. New episodes every Monday. Download at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Calgary Flames fans, it's time for Flames Unfiltered. Entertaining and controversial hockey talk with your host, Brad Baroud. Welcome to the Calgary Flames, Jacob Markstrom. Yes, Flames fans, we have a number one goalie in Calgary. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Flames Unfiltered. Yeah, an off-season edition, a free agency edition, recorded on October 14th, 2020, episode number 76. I am the host of the show, Brad Baroud. Good to have you with us to talk a little bit of Flames hockey, and I don't even know where to start this episode. I don't. We've focused so much on free agency that the draft picks that we got last week are old news. And summing up the week, last week was a hell of a week if you're a Calgary Flames fan. About as good a week as I can remember in a long, long time. Other good news, last Friday and Saturday night, went to 2 junior hockey games, good hockey games. It was fun. I went with my daughter, a little one-on-one weekend. My wife had the other kids out of town, and spent some time with my middle daughter, and she likes hockey, and so we had a good time watching a couple of good junior A hockey games in the States, and it's great to have live hockey back. I don't know. It's fun. I mean, I love the playoffs on TV and everything, but it was just nice to have that live hockey back, to go and hear the puck hit the glass and the skates on the ice. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Nice, relaxing weekend. I watched hockey and I watched a little bit of football, and it was a blast to watch all the free agents sign. I had so much fun last week with the draft, and then moving on into, Friday, where I didn't really know what to expect. And as frustrating as it was waiting for the Markstrom news to come in and knowing and hoping it was coming, but that lull in between just created so much excitement for that day. And it was a real fun day. And my day started with fear on what would happen. And the draft went well, I think, if you're a Calgary Flames fan. And free agency was a home run. And now it's a waiting game. It's a waiting game to see what happens in this world and in the country of Canada and in the United States, and where this leads us, and how long do we have to wait for hockey. We'll do our best. We'll keep you entertained while we don't have hockey, but it's going to be some trying times now. I think roster moves are still not done. We'll see what happens there. But we have a lot to talk about in this episode, and it's an episode that I've been looking forward to doing because it's free agency. And where do I start? Where do we start with this? I was so pumped about the free agents and everything, but you know what? We'll have to start the show, and we'll recap what I call a Treliving master draft. I thought he did great. We'll discuss all 8 players drafted by the Flames last week, and then it's time to talk great Flames news, and we'll talk about having a new number one in town. Thank you, Vancouver. And we'll talk about all the free agents that signed contracts with the Flames and former Flames that are in new homes, remaining UFAs, arbitration, and, scary topic, the current cap space. We need to do some fixing there. Then we'll on to some Flames news, and we'll wrap with a great listener question tonight. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Flames Unfiltered.
Balls can hurt, but yours don't have to. At Manscaped, we save balls. Prevent manscaping accidents with the Lawnmower 3.0, featuring skin-safe technology by Manscaped.
Get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code THPN at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. All right, Flames fans, let's talk draft. I thought it was a good, really good draft for the Flames. You know, it started off where you're just a little bit hesitant. And you're like, oh, man, where's this going? We're picking 19th. We're getting to like 17, 18, and I'm eyeing Schneider from Brandon. I'm like, ooh, this is a pick. Like, I want this guy. I want this guy. He's good. He's good. He's going to be great. And then all of a sudden the news comes out. We've traded the 19th pick to the New York Rangers in exchange for the 22nd overall and the 72nd overall. So I'm like, moving down. They must have somebody in mind. But I'll take a third rounder to take a guy 4 spots down. Like, that sounds 3 spots down. I'll do that. So then Schneider's off the board. I'm like, damn, we lost our guy that I kind of had earmarked that if he fell back to us, like, that was going to be the golden one. And then we're ready to take our pick for 22, and there's a long lull. And then all of a sudden, there's an announcement that the 22nd pick has been acquired by the Washington Capitals in exchange for the 24th pick and the 80th pick overall. I'm like, well, wait a second. We must have somebody in mind that's dropping. And we just acquired 2 more draft picks, which are, to me, lottery tickets, right? Because if we're talking third rounders, that's not bad. And they're, hit or miss if they make it. But if you can have more tickets, it's like buying tickets for a raffle. The more tickets you have, the more chance you have of winning. The more third round picks you have, the more chance you have landing one. So then we get ready to pick 24. And I'm like, well, geez, we've seen 2 trades down here. And I don't know. But then we're going to pick, and we pick out of Kamloops in the WHL, Connor Zary, a 6-foot-tall center. And I'm like, this is a good pick. This is a really good pick. And I'm like, okay, well then we still have 2 third rounders, and we just moved down a few spots and still got the guy we wanted. Like, how can you ask for anything better than that? And Connor Zary is a good hockey player. He's plays for the Kamloops Blazers. He's gonna be a work in progress. This isn't something that's gonna happen right away, but his offensive output's impressive. 86 points last season. I think we'll take that, and it's progressed each year of juniors. I like this pickup. I like this. I like this draft pick. It's really a good one. And then we rolled into the second round. In first round, let's talk about the first round a little bit. It took forever. And I don't know if it's because it was virtual or if television is such a key part of the first round. And I understand that. And we had to see all these home videos, some of them which were excruciatingly uncomfortable. Alexei Lafreniere, was that not weird? A couple of them were just very, very uncomfortable. Then we make it through the first round. And first of all, I want to roll back a little bit on that. We tried something new here in Flames Unfiltered for the first round of the draft. We were on Hot Mic with a draft party, or it's basically a watch party where I have the draft running on Hot Mic. If you haven't checked out Hot Mic, go to Hot Mic, follow us at Flames Unfiltered. It's under Brad Baroud, Flames Unfiltered. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why to do that. We just basically watched the draft together and talked while we did it. I answered questions that were typed into me, and we just talked Flames hockey, and it was a lot of fun. Next year, we'll be joining forces with Hot Mic, and we will be doing a Calgary Flames game of the week. I will post it days in advance. We'll sit down. You can join the watch party. We'll watch Calgary Flames hockey together, talk about the good things, talk about the bad things, complain about the players we're upset about, talk about the players we love, go back over the huge wins and the great plays, and just watch hockey together and talk Flames hockey. While we're doing that, we'll be giving some prizes away. We'll be having all kinds of different promotions, contests, and different things during the games. So you can win some great Flames Unfiltered merchandise, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to do that. Watch for tons and tons of further details to come on that. Now back to the draft. Rounds 2 through 7 traditionally take place on a Saturday morning. They took place on a Wednesday morning, and it took forever. I was wondering if next year's season would start before we got done. But anyways, it got done. Let's roll through the remaining 7 picks that the Flames had. In the second round, 19th pick, 50th overall, Jan Kuznetsov, a defenseman from Russia, 6'4", 209 pounds. He's been playing in the States in Hockey East of the NCAA at UConn. Big defenseman, stayed home. Just a brute force guy in front of the net. I think he's going to be a good solid defenseman for the Flames. I love that size. We need that, and we need that stay-at-home, tough, rugged defenseman. In the third round, the 72nd pick overall, the Flames picked up Jeremy Poirier, a defenseman, 6 foot from Canada, played in the Quebec League from St. John. He fell in the draft. It was kind of a steal, a very, very high risk, but high reward. He's a very good puck-moving, fast defenseman that takes risks. And that's something that worries a lot of people, but hopefully that can be developed out while he's in the Quebec League and grooming to become a Calgary Flame. High upside, though. Very high upside. Our second pick, which was another one we acquired by moving down, was the 80th pick overall and out of Edina High School in Minnesota, now playing in the United States Hockey League, defenseman Jake Bolton. We say they're all good. Let's face facts here. 2 of these guys are going to pan out. Maybe we'll get lucky and get 3. That, is usually where the averages fall. Round 4, 96th overall, the Flames pick up Daniel, I'm going to get this wrong, Chekalev. He is an overager. It's his second year in the draft. He plays in a Russian league, 6'3" goaltender, passed over last year, drafted by the Flames this year. Goaltenders, as far as I'm concerned in a draft, you just don't know. But I think it's good to have a few in the pipeline. And like we talked earlier, draft picks are like raffle tickets. Eventually they pay off. Hopefully your scouts are doing their job. Then in the 5th round, 143rd overall, the Flames pick up Ryan Francis, a right winger from Cape Breton of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. In the 6th round, 174th overall, Rory Kearns, from Sault Ste. Marie of the Ontario Hockey League, a smaller, just like Francis, forward, good speed, both of those guys. A little bit undersized at 5'9" and 5'10" for Kearns. In the 7th round, 205th overall, Ilya Solinov, a defenseman from Russia, 6'2", 208 pounds. He is the final pick of the Calgary Flames. Overall, I thought the Flames were really, it was a solid draft. Let's talk about guys, and with COVID and everything that's going on now, it's important to have in your players play. And that's another thing that's good. As active players out of the draft is Poirier, Francis, Shevelev, Solyov have already begun their 2021 seasons. Poirier, Francis, Shevelev remain with their junior leagues. Solyov is in the KHL with Dynamo Minsk. Other players there's a couple of Connors the WHL hasn't started yet. NCAA hopes to get going in November. I believe UConn was on the list of Hockey East was gonna start late November. Let's hope that pans out. It's good to have your guys playing. It's tough to develop the way we need them to develop if they're not playing. So it's good to see that we have some of our draft picks up and going with their season this year. Connor Zary, welcome to Calgary. We hope that you as a first round pick will will thrive in Calgary and have great years. Hopefully you have a good year this year, and hopefully we see you wearing a Calgary Flames jersey in the near future.
Hockey fights, lifestyle, and tales from a first-round draft bust? We have it all and more on the Hockey Podcast Network, your home for boutique hockey content and podcasts covering every team in the NHL.
All right, Flames fans, time to talk free agency. And yes, we finally have what we can 100% solidly call a number one goalie in Calgary. As a 30-year-old, Jacob Markstrom has made it and was signed as we battled with Edmonton and reportedly Carolina for his services. And couldn't be more happy. I'm not going to lie, while we waited for the signing, I was worried about what the term was going to be, and I didn't want to go over 6 years, and I sure didn't want to go over $6 million. And needless to say, that's right where it worked out. A $36 million deal, $6 million AAV each year, broken out a little differently, and gives him some buyout protection. The base salary for year one is $4 million. Year 2, $4 million. Year 3, $8 million. Year 4, $8 million. Year 5, $2.5 million in bonuses, $3.5 million in base salary, and in year 6, $2.5 million in bonuses, $3.5 in base salary. Now, the term scares me a little bit, but the fact of the matter is you're not going to get a top 5 goalie at the caliber of Markstrom without giving the term. So to get this, you got to give. Now, the beauty of this is, and I talked about it in previous episodes while I targeted Darcy Kemper, we would have had to give up something. We didn't have to give up anything for Markstrom. Yes, the cap hit is $1.5 million higher for Markstrom. We have him for a longer term. We don't have to worry about re-signing him right now. And we have that without having to give up a bunch of stuff. And we're not just getting any old goalie. In the last year and a half, 2 years, he has proven that he is an elite goalie. Been a Vezina candidate, .918 save percentage. This guy was the backbone of the Canucks last year. He won them so many games single-handedly, or at least kept them in so many games. It's amazing. If he can replicate that in Calgary, we're literally going to have a chance at almost every game this year. Now, we're going to need Riddick to be a solid backup, because with what looks to be a very condensed schedule, we're going to need that. We're going to need that guy to step in on the 3 games and 4 nights or the back-to-backs. We're going to need a solid backup, and I believe that that's where Riddick fills in, and that's where Riddick is his best, is when he's in that backup role, feels confident, and he can go out there and win you games. Now, the second big signing, also from Vancouver, thank you very much, Canucks fans, as we sign also 30-year-old Chris Tanev, a right shot defender, a physical force. He's been described by many as a warrior, and if you watch the Canucks play this year, you'll have to agree. Now, he's not an offensive player. He is a stay-at-home, hard-nosed, grind-it-out, beat the hell out of you guy in front of the net. He's there for tough minutes. He is there to rule the front of the net, and it is going to be great to have a guy like him. Now, is he going to fit in and train Valimaki, or more likely, I think he'll fit in more with Rasmus Andersson? Now, let's talk term. He's an AAV hit of $4.5 million per year for 4 years. Gets paid out a little bit differently. 3.5 first year, 5.5 the second year, 4.5 in years 3 and 4. Now, a lot of people balked at the term on this one, and yeah, it worries me because he's a Travis Hamonic type of guy, and he is injury prone. He hasn't had a year and I believe 5 years where he's played every game. But you need warriors, right? And there's a sacrifice for that. So you know that going in. Another thing that I've heard about Chris Tanev is his nickname in Vancouver was Dad. Well, you know what? If you take on that role and they call you Dad, it's because you care about your teammates. It's because you protect them and you lead them and you help them. Having that in the Flames locker room is going to be another huge, huge thing. Chris Tanev solidifies our defense. Yes, we have a couple more spots to fill, but man, is he a good defenseman that's going to help us out. We just hope he stays healthy. And yeah, I can sit and say all these signings look great, and they always look good when you're in the excitement of it. We'll see what happens. I think they're both safe signings. Maybe the Tanev is a little bit more of a risk than the Markstrom. And maybe some people would say, well, geez, anytime you sign a goalie to 6 years, it's scary. And you probably will go back and say, well, I heard you say on the podcast that you don't want a goalie ever for over 4 years. And I don't. I would have loved to got Markstrom at $6 million for 4 years. But you're not going to get that guy if you don't give a little. And let's face it, we haven't had a number one. Now, I will defend Cam Talbot till the day I die. But we haven't had what we've considered in the fan base of Calgary a true number one since Mika Kiprasov. Well, if you haven't looked at his retirement date, it's a long-ass time ago. I'm pumped to have Markstrom. I believe he's a top 3 goalie in this league. And that's going to be a huge, huge thing for the Calgary Flames. Now let's run through. There was 4 other signings for the Flames. Zach Renault, 5. There's another one that just came in. Let's talk about some of the guys that signed outside of that were not Calgary Flames, as I get all confused and mixed up. But Louis Domingue, we also signed him, another goaltender from Vancouver. He has an insurance policy, guys. $700,000, 2-way contract. The 20-year-old has solidified himself as a backup in the NHL. If we have an injury to Riddick, if we have an injury to Markstrom, God help us we don't, Louis Domingue can step in and win games for us. 3 other signings. Byron Freeze gets $725,000 for 2 years. He's an RFA signing or re-signing. Buddy Robinson, 1 year, $700,000 to solidify our right wing. That is a 1-way contract. Ronaldo also signs again, $700,000. That's a 2-way contract. Let's roll through some. That's who's. We got one more signing that I need to talk about, and that went down today as Glenn Godden signs with the Flames on a 1 year, $700,000 deal. And he is a guy that, because of his salary cap and because of the progression we've seen and what we really saw this June at the camp, this guy is probably has a penciled in roster spot for himself to lose. I like what this guy brings. I think he's going to be on our 4th line this year. I think we're going to see our fair share of Glenn Godden this year. Now, that is a 2-way contract, and it's great to get him wrapped up. Let's talk a little bit about some Flames that are moving on to new homes. Ryan Lomberg signs a 2-year, $725,000 1-way contract with Florida. That shocks me. Not that I'm doubting Lomberg's talent, but for Florida to guarantee him a 1-way spot, crazy. Cam Talbot signs a 3-year, $3.66 million deal with the Minnesota Wild, and I'm going to miss Cam Talbot. Now, I think everybody in Calgary that's a fan should send Cam Talbot a thank you letter. And here's why I say that. Think about what this guy did. He stepped in last year when we needed him and gave us everything we could have asked for and more, especially in the playoffs where I considered him in the first round, well, actually the first qualifying round and the first round, one of the top goalies in the playoffs. This guy was outstanding against Winnipeg and was also, for the most part, pretty good against Dallas. He's a great teammate, and we also need to thank him for one other thing. When he stood up to Mike Smith and fought him in the Battle of Alberta, that meant a ton to this franchise. I know it's a fight, and I'm not a pugilistic hockey fan, but what he did there was huge. In my book, Cam Talbot will always be remembered as a guy that came to Calgary on a one-year deal and did exactly what we asked of him. And quite honestly, if we somehow couldn't have got a guy like Markstrom or Kemper, third on my list was Cam Talbot. And I'm not joking about that. Other guys finding new homes. Mark Jankowski, restricted free agent. We've cut ties with him. He re-signs. He was not qualified by the Flames. Signs a one-year, one-way deal, also another one-way deal, with the Pittsburgh Penguins for $700,000. Another Flame signing a one-way contract. Right up north of us, Alan Quine gets a one-year, $750,000 deal from the Edmonton Oilers. The next signing is one that I really hate to see go. I wanted to re-sign this guy probably more than three other guys we re-signed. Tobias Reeder re-signs on a one-way deal, $700,000 with the Buffalo Sabres. I would have given Tobias Reeder $1 million for 2 years on a one-way deal. He's critical. He's a good, solid winger, can play our fourth line, gives us speed, gives us grit, but most importantly is what I consider an elite penalty killer. We're going to miss this guy in Calgary. We're going to hate not having him on the penalty kill this year. John Gillies, goalie that's been in the system for years and years, just never stuck. Just never could pull it together and be the goalie that we expected when we acquired him. He signs a two-way deal, 1 year, $700,000 with the St. Louis Blues. Now to some big names. TJ Brody signs a 4-year, $5 million deal with Toronto. Now, it was my understanding that on Friday, Calgary was negotiating still with him and had offered a 4-year, $4.5 million deal, according to Elliot Friedman, but just never could get over that hump. And a lot of what boiled down to the Calgary not going up to the $5 million is them realizing that we just need a shakeup on defense. We need to change some things. Now, TJ Brody's been with the Flames from the beginning. Yes, he's had some shaky moments, a lot of turnovers up the middle some nights, but you know what? All in all, this guy was very solid. And last year, he had a great year. Even with his medical scare that scared the hell out of everybody in Calgary, TJ Brody was a straight-up great player. And we thank him for the great years in Calgary. And don't forget, hockey fans, just 2 years ago, this guy was thought of as, with Giordano, that was the top pairing in the National Hockey League. Don't forget that. Eric Gustafson moves on to Winnipeg, a 1 year, one-way, $1 million deal. I really wish we'd have re-signed him. I thought he was a good security blanket, and I would have been happy giving him $1 million on a one-way deal. As I thought Derek Forbort did a good job, good shot blocker, puts his life out on the line for this team, and I'm going to miss not having him in the lineup, even though we didn't get to see much of him as we acquired him at trade deadline last year. Another guy we acquired last year at trade deadline and only got to see a small snippet of it was Eric Gustafson, and he moved on and signs a 1 year deal with the Philadelphia Flyers for $3 million. And this one puzzles me because when he went to free agency, the rumors were flying everywhere that this guy expected $5 to $6 million in his deal. And for him to settle for $3 million leads me to believe that his phone was just not ringing. And people are just unsure what Eric Gustafson brings to the table anymore. That was a little bit of a shocker. Now, the final former Flame that signs and moves on is Austin Zarnik. He signs a 2 year, two-way deal in year one and a one-way guarantee deal in year two. Year one for $725, year two for $750. I knew he wasn't coming back based on what happened in the bubble. Now, The Flames have one UFA this year that's still unsigned, has not found a home, and that is defenseman Travis Hamonic, who, according to Evolve Hockey, is projected to make $5.2 million per season on a 5-year deal. I don't think he goes that high just because I think prices have fallen drastically. And we'll probably see Hamonic get 3.5 on a 3-year deal. We'll see what happens there. Now, we thought maybe we'd be able to talk to you a little bit about trades today, and we didn't. And we haven't seen trades yet. I'm interested to see with where things currently stand if we do see trades. But, we haven't seen a trade yet, and we probably will with the way Brad Treliving is, but we'll see on that. Andrew Mangiapane, he is one guy that has filed for salary arbitration. The 24-year-old is coming off his career year. Last year, the Flames gave him a $715,000 one-way deal, kind of a show-me contract. And, he showed us. He primarily played on the second line with Tkachuk and Backlund, had 17 goals this year, 32 points in 68 games. Yeah, we're going to have to give this guy a raise, and we'll just see where we can settle with Mangiapane. Hopefully it's in that $3 million range. I'd hate to see it go more than that right now, but you get this guy wrapped up on a 2-year we can't give him another show me, but I would expect it's not a 5-year, but I like to say it's maybe a 2 to 3 year, 3.5, hopefully not more than that, 2.8, somewhere right around there. Hopefully that'll get this done and we can get him in and see for real if Andrew Mangiapane is a top 6 forward in this league. Many people think he is. I have my moments that I think he is, and then I have my moments where I think, I don't know if this guy's there, but we'll see. His arbitration date coming up very quickly, October 20th, just 6 days away. Hopefully we can get something figured out there. Now, with all the good news and all the new guys coming in, that's an exciting thing. The bad news is we currently sit at just over $75 million, which leaves us $5.7 million left in cap space. And when you look at the roster, what we need to fill still is out of that $5.7 million, we got to get Mangiapane his money, and then we also need to fill one defenseman position, one top 6 defenseman position. So we got a couple spots to fill with that money. There's a little bit of room to work with. We'll see how it all plays out. It's going to be tight. I truly believe some moves may happen to free up a little bit more cap space with free agents like Hoffman sitting out there and Eric Holla, who's kind of been on my radar. He's a guy that I've really looked at and wanted to add to our Flames roster. You're going to need to free up some cap space, but is there a move that can be made to do so? I don't want to disrupt our core now too much. I'm not going to go into the Johnny Gaudreau thing. Could that happen? Yeah, I think it could still happen. I think there's as good a chance of it happening now as we had a month ago. We'll see what happens there. Just not sure that for sure that's going to happen, but we'll see. All in all, what a draft and what a free agency signing. Can you remember the last time in Calgary we were able to say, hey, we went out and got the big fish? And usually free agency signing means death, but this year's class was just so impressive. I think there's so many good players this year and so many teams that are going to be rewarded because of their draft day signings.
Do you want a true champion's perspective? Well, come on over to the Bolts broadcast, where we talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, have some friendly banter, and of course, hockey name of the day.
If you pronounce it, you can get it.
Anthony Nunschwander.
You didn't pronounce it right. Anthony
Nunschwander.
It's N-E-U-E-N. It's Neuenschwander. Anthony Neuenschwander.
Dude, I always slept in German class, so I don't know how you expected me to put that together. Come on.
You only took it for 4 years.
I took it for 2.
Took it for 2 years? Oh no, J-Do took it that long.
I took it for 2 years and was like asleep in all of German too.
Oh, you only took it in junior high. You didn't take it in high school at all.
No. Yeah, she sent us across the hallway, and it was like me and, I don't know, 5 other people, and all we did was just goof off because it was an empty room of just us while she was too busy yelling at you guys because you guys were a terrible class.
No, we were in terrible class. A couple people were terrible people. Not going to mention names, not going to call it anybody in this pod. It was
Chase
not
Crawshaw.
Me. It was 100% not me.
Oh boy, I know a couple of those names, but yeah, it's a good point, Chase. We won't mention those here. New episodes every Monday, only on the Hockey Podcast Network.
All right, Flames fans, time for a little bit of Flames news. Yeah, it's a real abbreviated version, but we'll give it to you. And just 2 topics I wanted to talk about today, and then we'll roll on into our Facebook question. Great day, draft day story. Jake Bolton from Edina. We took him in the 3rd round this year. He is signed to play at the University of Minnesota and is on the ice practicing with his USHL Junior A team in the States, Tri-City. And they must have on the scoreboard the picks that are coming through. Well, his team's kind of watching, and they see him get picked by the Calgary Flames in the 3rd round, and he is mobbed by his teammates, and it was just a very special moment and one that flooded Twitter. And it's fun to see those kids reach that goal that they've dreamt about since they were first stepped onto the ice and skates. And for Jake Bolton, that had to have been a very special time, and one that, man, how could you have any more fun, though, sharing that moment with your teammates and all the hugs that went around. The NHL did announce a new target date for the 2020-21 season, and it looks like January 1st is the new target date. It looks like the Winter Classic is very unlikely to be played. We'll see what happens there. I've also heard rumors here just in the last couple of days that it may be pushed back to January 15th, and some general managers are saying they just hope that it's going by February 1. And boy, do I hope. I don't want a long break now. We got spoiled. We got to see some good hockey, and now we got all these free agents, and we got all this excitement with this new roster, and I want to see them on the ice, and I want to see them playing. But we'll have to be patient here, and the world's got their hands full here, and we need to get through this, and we need to get through it safely, and we hope everybody out there is being safe. Now let's roll on into our listener question. It comes from Dylan Simpson. He's a buddy on Flames Hub, a Facebook group. You just got to go out and join it. It's great talking Flames hockey. And he threw out the question, does anyone else get the feeling that Brad Treliving is gearing up for a big trade? And I thought about this question, and I wrote, I don't know that it'll be a big trade, but I do believe that moves are going to still be made. I think it'll be more to free up some cap space to maybe sign a guy like Eric Halla or Granlund maybe. I do think some moves will be made, and I don't for some reason get the gut feeling that the Johnny Hockey trade will come. I still hope it does. I still think that that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And he's proven to be ineffective in the playoffs, minus the year of his first year when he was trying to prove that he was a day in and day out NHLer. It's funny how hard players work then and how hard they don't work when they're proven. And I've been hard on Johnny Hockey, and I still cheer for him, and I still want the best, and I still want him to be a successful Calgary Flame. But he's also going to be a UFA next year. And we cannot take the risk of losing him for nothing. And we need to cut ties now and get what we can. I can't imagine. I can't imagine re-signing him though. Would you consider paying him what he gets right now, which is not going to be what he asked for? I mean, how would we justify him at $6+ million when we get zero production in the postseason? If the Flames are going to move on and be successful and make a cup run, the best players have to produce. Why did Tampa Bay win this year? Because their best players produced. Plain and simple. We need our best players to produce. And if we can't get that from Johnny Gaudreau or Sean Monahan, then we're going to need to replace them. And is there a better time right now to replace Johnny Hockey? No. Right now you have to do it. Is this Trade value at its highest point? No, it's probably at one of its lowest, but it's going to be a hell of a lot lower next year when he's a UFA and is going to walk on us. Now, he says the right things, and he says he wants to come back to Calgary and he wants to sign here. But he's going to want a raise, and I can't justify that. And what do we expect him to say? Is he going to say, no, Calgary sucks, and I want to get out of here? No, he's not going to say that because he knows he has to play here for one more year for sure. Something needs to be done now on this before this becomes a bigger problem. We need some assurance that we're going to get a return on him. But going back to your question, Dylan, which thank you so much for the question. I enjoy talking Flames hockey with you. No, I don't think it's going to be big, but I do think there is going to be a move, and I think a move does have to be made. Get all your Flames Unfiltered podcasts, team news, team updates, and highlights at flamesunfiltered.com. All right, Flames fans, many of you joined us, or a few of you, not many, I can't say many because it was only a few, because it was our first time ever doing it. It was a test run. We tried out Hot Mic for the draft and had a little draft watch party for the Flames, and I honestly, I had a blast. It was even way more fun than what I thought it was going to be. And I'm going to be adding graphics to the screens and you know, all kinds of different information. We're going to spruce it up a little bit. We're going to have more conversation. We're going to push hard to get a lot more people watching the game with us all at one time. And next year, we're going to have the Hot Mic Calgary Flames Game of the Week. We'll have prizes. We'll have overtime guesses on who's going to score. We're going to have everything that we can possibly do to make it just as fun as we can possibly make it. Make sure you check out Flames Unfiltered on Instagram. Get on over to Twitter. Follow us at Flame Unfiltered. And most importantly, you know what? Go to flamesunfiltered.com. We got all kinds of different Flames things on there. Twitter feeds, everything you can think of. We got it on there. It's your place for Flames podcast, man. We appreciate everybody for listening. We'll be back next week with another great episode of Flames Unfiltered. Well, we'll talk about the new Flames roster. We'll talk about the depth chart. We'll take a look at how the salary cap looks, what we need to fill, what we don't need to fill, where we need to put our money, where we shouldn't put our money. There's a lot to figure out with this new look Flames, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Then Blake Friars. You can listen to him on the Debate podcast. He's going to join the show and talk a little bit about the Pacific Division and how the Flames stack up and how the teams have changed during a very interesting free agency period. It's going to be a lot of fun talking Pacific Division with Blake. It's always fun having him on the show. Get ready for another episode. It's going to be a good week. Guys, we have a lot to be happy with. If we are Flames fans, we got one of the best goalies in the league. Check back next week for another great episode of Flames Unfiltered. Flames Hockey Talk every week. Thanks. Get connected. Flames Unfiltered can be found on Twitter at Flame Unfiltered. And also make sure you check out our Facebook page at Flames Unfiltered. Check out host Brad Brood on Twitter at Brad Brood. And if you like what you hear, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can find Flames Unfiltered on all the major podcast players. Consider subscribing to the Inside Edge Hockey News on Patreon. That'll get you exclusive content and much more. Thanks again and enjoy the hockey. Thanks for tuning in to Flames Unfiltered. Check back for more action-packed Calgary Flames talk.
You're listening to the Hockey Podcast Network, your home for hockey talk covering every team in the NHL. New episodes every Monday. Download at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.
This has been a production of Inside Edge Hockey News Radio, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This production is copyrighted and distributed by the Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.